Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and are having a flare-free day. I want to start off this video by saying that you matter and your mental health matters. And it can be a really nerve-wracking and daunting time to either be diagnosed with a chronic illness or a chronic condition, or to realize that you woke up one day with new pains and symptoms that you don't quite have the name to yet. Wherever you are in your chronic illness journey, know that I believe your pain and your story and your experiences with that pain, and that you are not alone. There have been moments where my mental health and well-being have not been where I would like them to be. At the beginning of my journey, I felt fearful and alone and afraid around my own body and what it was doing every day without my consent, I guess. Waking up with a flare-up or brain fog or like fatigue that you just couldn't shake after a nap. And it was just a time where my mental health was just impacted because I just didn't know who I was or where my identity had gone, the person I knew before chronic pain. My mental health was impacted when I was given medication to help with pain management for endometriosis, and I have a video about that and I'll post it down below. It was experienced on a progesterone dominant pill that just didn't work for me because it kind of altered the way my mental health was. And now in today's present moment where I'm in a new chapter of motherhood, living with a chronic condition that causes painful flare-ups and symptoms that come forward every day, but now there's a new being in the mix where I put them first over myself. Wherever you are in your journey, know that you are not alone. And I want to keep stressing this because this video is so important to me and so, I think, vital in understanding that there are so many supports out there for you that are meant for you and that you are so deserving of. And I find when you live with chronic pain, I personally, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I just feel like we don't want to say how we're feeling every day because we don't want to come off as complaining or as always negative. But at the end of the day, like, our brain internally is dealing with so much on top of work and life events. If you feel like you're just not quite at a pain threshold where you deserve support for your mental health, or you just feel like, oh, I'm at the beginning and I don't want to complain or don't want to assume that I'm going through this, know that that resource is there for you regardless of where you are in your journey. I am not a doctor or medical practitioner whatsoever, but I do want to say, friend to friend, if you just don't feel like yourself, and it can be a scary leap to take, but your body is so deserving of support and you are so deserving of love and support in this journey. And it is not easy some days. Trust me. Like, I understand 100% what you are going through. And so in today's video, I wanted to talk about the different ways in which endometriosis, or any chronic condition for that matter, can really impact our mental health and our mental well-being. So with that, let's jump into the first way that chronic pain can impact our mental health. The first thing that is just generally understood is that if you live in pain every day, or if you wake up with fatigue after a great sleep, or you just don't feel like your body is performing because you have weird symptoms showing up, that's going to impact the way you feel, and that's going to impact your mental health and well-being. I woke up one day and my body was never the same. And that has a toll on someone's mental health because I feel like at the beginning of that moment where you feel certain pains starting to creep into your daily routine that are there constantly every time you wake up, that you grieve a little bit of the part of yourself that you once knew before chronic pain, and you're kind of also hoping for the day that you wake up where you don't feel that pain anymore. Some people's pain thresholds are lower than yours or higher than yours, and we just can't anticipate the way that our pain is going to be every day. I wake up some days and I have great days where I can run, or I can hold my baby for a long period of time standing, and then some days I have where I wake up and I just don't know where I've gone. I don't know where the old me has gone, and I just feel like a flare just takes me out and I just didn't anticipate it, so it takes me away from the things I want to do that day or had planned for. So I'm getting emotional because I'm thinking of you and your journey, and if only they knew. I think is the statement that a lot of people with chronic pain and chronic illnesses go through is, if only you knew for a second, if I could pass my pain to you, not maliciously, but just so you could feel what I feel every day, how would you feel emotionally and physically and mentally every day if you live with that pain? And so number one way that mental health is impacted by a chronic illness is that constant pain that you live in. The second way that your mental health can be impacted by a chronic illness or disease is a delayed diagnosis. Endometriosis, more specifically, is often misunderstood, misdiagnosed, and delayed in diagnosis. Generally speaking, endometriosis takes 5 to 11 years to formally diagnose. One that is nonsense to me, and living with endo, I have been open about this on my channel. It took me 11 years to finally find a doctor that believed my pain and my story to provide like a suspected diagnosis for endometriosis outside of surgery. And to finally receive a name to my pain was relieving, and I felt so many other emotions that came with that, and all of that bubbled up to the surface of why did it take so long to finally receive a name for my pain? Feelings of frustration, confusion, helplessness, honestly, as individuals are constantly pushed aside in the medical system or not believed by their workplace or their school because of the pain they feel, is going to take a toll on someone's mental health and the way that they view themselves and how they view their bodies. Because if you're constantly told you're lying, or it's not that bad, or it's something else, you go back in your head of, okay, I must not feel that badly, or I guess I'm kind of exaggerating the pain, or I guess it's normal, when in reality, you know your body best, and you know the way that your body is impacted by that pain every day. So delaying diagnosis for whatever chronic illness you have, but specifically endo, definitely had a toll on the way I viewed my body and the way I viewed the system that was put in place to support me. And that is another way that an illness like endometriosis can impact someone's mental health and well-being. Next way that a chronic illness can impact someone's mental health is constant disruptions with daily life. I am a new mother with a new baby who's under 1, and I also live with chronic pain. And so I may have a plan to wake up and go to the park or take her to a learning play group that's run by the city. And then I have excruciating pain where I can't do that. And the mental toll it takes on, I'm a bad mom, or I'm not showing up in the best way I can for her, is one aspect of mental health that's impacted. Another way is, wow, my day has been disrupted and I'm mad at my own body. So I'm frustrated that I was, not able to do what I wanted to do. And that in itself, as an A-type person, is so hard, okay? It's so hard to live in a body that is unpredictable with symptoms. Frustration is a way that can impact our mental health, and constantly living that frustration and that anger can build up and can be a really dark place to be mental health wise, especially when we don't trust our own bodies, as well as a feeling of isolation. When you are pulled away from events in your disrupted daily life from work or school or the things that you want to do, it can really have an impact. I know, not for myself, but for other people in the chronic illness community, they have found that they're no longer invited to things because they had to cancel so many times because of pain, or they're no longer seen as a reliable person. So, they've been let go from work, which is so crazy to think about. And there's a stat in Australia that came forward that people were let go from their workplace because of the chronic pain that they felt and were unable to go to work. So there are so many disruptions because of chronic pain that can lead to mental health impacts. So again, if you're feeling like your daily life is disrupted or you're feeling not yourself, please reach out to your friends and just let them know how you're feeling. If you feel comfortable and confident to do so, talk to your family about what you're going through and that you feel isolated and that you just love for someone to drop by and hang out, or just be in your comfies and watch a movie. Little things to just help you feel like you're connected to your social group is so important and so valuable for our mental health. And again, talking with employers, if you feel comfortable to do so, can also be a way that we can feel a little bit more supported, if possible, in that workplace environment for our mental health and well-being. Again, talking to a medical provider in those moments where you just feel that constant frustration and anger and isolation building up in those moments. When it comes to endometriosis, another mental health impact that I think a lot of individuals deal with silently is fertility. Before I was able to conceive and have a baby, I was told that it would be probably hard for me to conceive naturally without IVF or other things because of my endometriosis presentations. And so when you are in your 20s and not necessarily thinking about having a family or starting a family yet, having that mental load on you, which is heavy, if you're like, I don't even know if I want kids yet, or if I'm ready to have kids, or my partner's not even in the mix yet. Like, there are so many things that are starting to like build up in your mind and can be really heavy to deal with, especially around fertility and on if you can conceive or not naturally. It causes additional emotional distress at times because it's an unknown that we just don't know, again, if we can control in our lives. And with chronic pain in the mix where we just can't control how we're going to feel every day, another thing on top of our plate where we're like, oh, we may not be able to control that aspect of our lives either because I didn't even think about that yet, is something that can be heavy and can impact someone's mental health for sure. Medication side effects can impact someone's mental health. I have been very open, and I have a video about this, and I'll post it in the description box below if you are interested, about my personal experience on a progesterone dominant pill that was given to me for a trial period to help manage my endometriosis pain and symptoms. In some ways, it did help support the way I felt physically. Mentally was not a match for me, and I go into a lot of depth in that video. And again, medication is so unique to the individual, and it is what may work for you may not work for me. Not to scare anybody away and not to, deter someone from taking medication that's been prescribed by your doctor. And again, do not change or take new medication that you've been prescribed by your doctor without talking to a professional about it first. But I firsthand can tell you the emotional, physical, and mental impact that trial medication had on me. There are so many side effects that can come with new medication, and it can take some time for our body to adjust to that medication. But again, if you are not feeling like yourself, or you're feeling like your thoughts are not feeling like your own, and it can be a scary and daunting time, again, it is so important to talk to a medical provider about that experience, to find a medication that works better for you and your pain. Another way that chronic pain can impact our mental health is impacts on relationships, whether it be your romantic partner or your friends, family, your workplace, where you have that relationship with colleagues. Chronic pain can really seep in quietly and impact the way we feel heard or seen or understood by those that we love and care for. I know that some individuals have symptoms where their endometriosis impacts the way they feel during intimacy or the way that they have energy levels, and that can really determine who takes on more of the workload for the house. So again, there are so many ways that chronic pain can impact our relationships. Stigma and misunderstanding is something that can really have a toll on our mental health as well when it comes to chronic pain. Endometriosis is a funny, and by funny I mean not haha, but like funny in the sense that like it's so misunderstood. And because a symptom of endometriosis is painful periods, it has been so stigmatized in media and pop culture and in educational curriculums and not talked about, even though it's a full body systemic inflammatory disease that like impacts our chest sometimes or our organs that are not connected to our reproductive system. So because of that stigmatization of our chronic illness generally in the public, it can be really hard for somebody to open up about their experience because they have painful periods or painful bowel movements as a symptom, and they just don't want to talk about it openly. Holding all of this in and holding these experiences internally can really impact our mental health because that misunderstanding and stigmatization of endometriosis, and I'm sure other chronic illnesses, are out there. It can really have a toll on how we view ourselves, how we view our body, how we view the outside world, and how we feel comfortable talking about things out loud. Feeling misunderstood and stigmatized can also cause individuals to not receive the proper care and support from family or friends because, again, they may not understand the full impact of endometriosis or your chronic condition, and they may not want to talk about it openly with you because they feel weird talking about a taboo topic like painful periods. There are therapists and support networks out there that are more than happy to talk about it openly with you. I highly recommend that you reach out to those support networks just so you don't feel alone in that experience. Finally, there is evidence to suggest that individuals that do have chronic illnesses, especially endometriosis, are at a higher risk of developing mental health conditions such as anxiety and depression. A shocking study in 2019 conducted in the United Kingdom around those that suffered with endometriosis, they had outlined that approximately half of individuals in that study suffered suicidal thoughts, which is heartbreaking to think about. Another study had outlined in 2009, which is again not up to date, but depressive symptoms and anxious symptoms of endometriosis sufferers were common around 89.5% of patients. Spending year after year of your adolescence and adulthood, again, being misunderstood, being unheard, having a delayed diagnosis, or just not feeling like yourself in your own body, ultimately, and has been proven in studies, that it has an impact on our mental health. There are so many ways to support our mental health, and again, it's so individualized to the person. I find joy in music, in movement, in drawing and creative outlets, making videos. I find joy in this, but you may find joy in sports or, talking with friends and family, writing, journaling, whatever you feel like brings you joy in a moment where you don't feel pain. I hope that you grasp that moment and take on that thing that you love and don't let it go. That's a part of yourself that's still there with you in your chronic illness journey. Support networks, again, are an amazing avenue to go to. I love the ones that are endometriosis focused, where I meet virtually with those and we talk openly about our experiences. It makes me feel less alone and less heavy in those moments. Talking with a doctor or medical provider has been great when I found that person that listened to me. And I promise you, when you're watching this, there is a medical doctor out there that believes you and will believe your pain and your story. And I know you will come across doctors that will brush your pain off or make you feel like your pain isn't that bad, or that you are exaggerating when you're not. There is a doctor out there that will believe you. Please keep putting one foot in front of the other to find that support. You are so deserving of it. Again, you are so deserving of that support and that piece of the puzzle that makes you feel like yourself. And you, wherever you are in your journey, at the beginning, or you're just feeling pain, reach out for support professionally or with your friends that you feel comfortable talking openly with, because it is an up and down journey. And having the tools and techniques to help you through it is something that I highly recommend you go towards. I am thinking of all of you. I am proud of all of you. I am proud of every step that you've taken to get to where you are today in your journey. And your mental health matters and your story matters. I'll be putting in the description box below some links to virtual support groups, specifically in Canada, as well as links to support your mental health outside of a chronic condition. And I'll post those down below too. If you live in another country or have resources that you'd love to share, feel free to comment in the box below. I'd love to hear them and I'd love to see them. And I'm sure it will help somebody else in their journey while living with a chronic illness. I cannot wait to talk to you on the next one.